Okay, people. So I wanted to make a video on this video I saw online. So the video was, and if I remember, I will put it in the description. And if I don't, I'm sure you could find it at various spots throughout the internet. But there was this MRAP that this police department had, and this girl was videotaping, and she asked one of the police officers. I believe the police officer was pretty high ranking too, and she's like, what is this going to be used for? I mean, I can understand this being used in Iraq, but what's this going to be used for? And he said it's going to be used for constitutionalists who, yeah, he said it's going to be used for constitutionalists and people who because those people could stockpile firearms. And so there you go, people. There's your police state, not for the criminals, not for the violent criminals who rape people, steal people's stuff. No, it's for us, the law-abiding citizens that actually want to follow the Constitution. So there you go. And I'm sure he was told that by some, by the feds or somebody, that we need this stuff because of the constitutionalists and all the libertarians out there, all the true conservatives and all the true liberals out there. We need this for them, not for the violent criminals. And I'm not even saying we should have that for the violent criminals. There's no need for a fucking MRAP or a fucking big vehicle for a violent criminal. I mean, if you look at the shit they had, the police officers had back in the 50s and 60s, when violent crime was actually higher. Now it's lower. It's actually the lowest it's been in 20 years. I was looking at this. I don't know if it's that, but it's dropped by like, I think like 50% or something in 20 years. 20%, something like that. It's a pretty big number. It's because gun sales have gone up. So why are they getting all this new equipment? Why do they need it? They need it for the constitutionalists who do stockpile firearms, or because stockpiling firearms is a completely legitimate idea. See, it's called the Second Amendment, people. Never heard of the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Ever heard of the Second Amendment? So it's very credible to store firearms. What if society collapsed? What if there's a big event that happens? What if you need guns to protect your family if something like that happens? And even if society doesn't collapse, you still have the right to own a gun to protect your family against criminals and government, or to protect yourself, or to protect anybody. So, they're just coming right out and admitting now. It's like fucking mind blowing. And why won't Fox News cover this? Why won't the mainstream media really pick up on this? You don't see mainstream. This should be headlines on every fucking news site in fucking America right now. Headline: Police Department. I forget where. Spokane, I believe. I believe it was in Washington. This should be the headline. Washington Police Department say MRAPs are for constitutionalists. That should be headlines on every major news site, on the Huffington Post, on the New York Times, on every major news site. But instead we're focused on just crazy retarded stories. Like I saw one time they had a story about Barack Obama's daughter getting, like, I think it was like a driver's license or something like that. I mean, it's fucking retarded, the stories. Kim Kardashian's ass. I mean, it's just fucking retarded. The stories that are on these so-called news sites. I mean, it's ridiculous. I was listening to a Jesse Ventura interview, and he's like, it's a pretty sad state in our country when we land a satellite on a comet, and that story's second to Kim Kardashian's ass. I mean, I agree. We're just bombarded by this retarded pop culture and sports and all this retarded entertainment, and people are just literally like mind controlled by that, and they don't pay attention to real issues. And this is a real issue. This should send alarms off in your, inside of your head. It should be the red alarm spinning around. I mean, they just said that the police are, not all the police, but I mean, by saying this, the police are kind of our enemy now. I mean, at least the ones who are going along with this. I mean, there's a lot of good cops out there, I think, and I think most of them are good people, but a lot of them, I think, are just, brainwashed by this thought or this idea, this ludicrous idea that we need a militarized police. We need the military for constitutionalists and libertarians. See, that's how mind control, that's how, it sounds like a crazy idea, but obviously this one thinks it's a fact. So, I mean, you see people think that all these ideas are crazy and shit, but if you have the right, if you give everybody the right shit, like propagandize them with the right shit, then they will believe it. We have a culture right now that loves to go through the TSA and get raped by the TSA for so-called security. So if a culture is given enough propaganda and given it the right way, then they will accept a lot of things. So I mean, it's a shame though that this story isn't getting a lot of coverage. I mean, I see that like in InfoWars, it's getting a lot of coverage, but I mean, this is a big fucking issue. I mean, they just said, they'd been right out in public, oh yeah, we have the MRAPs for, and we knew he was on video too, I believe. We got the MRAPs for the Constitutionalists, and then he made a response video to the InfoWars, and he's like, I believe they said like, it was taken out of context, and like, how was that taken out of context? And they're like, he misspoke. I believe that's what he said. He misspoke. A better word to use would be extremist. How do you speak and say constitutionalists instead of extremists? I don't get that. I've never. And even if you do, like, I misspeak all the time, and I'll say something, and I'll be like, oh no, I meant to say this. You'll catch yourself if you're saying that. So I mean, and then he's like, well, in the comments, there was death threats on me, and InfoWars hasn't taken them down. So he's blaming InfoWars for comments of other people. That, so it's just totally ludicrous argument here. And this is totally ridiculous. And people need to speak up against this. They need to speak up against the police state. You won't see Bill Neocon O'Reilly speak up against the police state because those Republicans, those Neocon Rhino Republicans, they love the police state. They love getting groped by the TSA, so they won't have a terrorist kill them, which kills like a few Americans a year. They love, I'm sure they would love a military inside their houses. I'm sure they would love video cameras. I'm sure they would love 10 video cameras inside their shower, videotaping them to make sure they're not a terrorist. I'm sure they would love, to have just a SWAT team come in their house and raid their house at night, because there's a 1% chance that they might have drugs. I'm sure they would love to have all this police state. That just, and the argument might be, oh, we'll be safer under a police state. Yeah, you'll also be safer if the government takes you and locks you in a sponge box. It locks you in there for 80 years. But is that how you want to live? No. Life is about taking chances, exploring, going out, doing adventures. It's not about staying in a little confined space so you won't get killed. No, we take chances, we take risks, and one of the risks we take is bad people, bad criminals. And how do we solve that risk? We don't cower to them. We don't stay in our houses scared all day. We arm ourselves with guns to protect ourselves, and we fight back against them. And we don't lock ourselves up, because when we take away our freedoms, then they win. They supposedly, George Bush said they attacked us because they were jealous of our freedoms. Well, now we have no freedoms, pretty much, and so, I mean, the terrorists have kind of won. If you go by George Bush's philosophy, I mean, they've changed our country, and they've pretty much won. Because if you look at from 9/11 to right now, I mean, our freedoms have been decimated, and that myth that soldiers fight for our freedoms is totally false, because actually when there's war, actually a lot of our freedoms get taken away when there's a war, it seems like. So, it's just depressing to see all our rights get taken away because of so-called terrorists. Cars kill like 30,000 people a year, yet nobody's afraid to drive. I fear from a car accident dying. I don't fear a terrorist attack. Are you kidding me? you know, I mean, I fear a terrorist attack because it could take away our freedoms, but I don't fear a fucking terrorist killing me directly. You know, I fear the government's response to a terrorist attack, but the things I fear most are car accidents right now. I mean, I'm young, so I don't fear diseases, but so like the number one thing I fear is a car accident, and it's hard to prevent a car accident because you could do everything right and still die. So while they promote this, terrorists, you know, they're gonna kill you. ISIS is gonna attack. We gotta go fight them now. Put ground troops there. Blah 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 blah. When again, terrorists only kill a small amount of Americans a year. You know, like deer kill more Americans than terrorists a year. It's ridiculous. They fucking just propagandize everybody, make them afraid, and then say, oh, we gotta militarize the police to protect all of you. It's just a fucking retarded idea that is just meant to, again, as the cop said, it's meant it's meant for the libertarians, it's meant for the constitutionalists and the people who actually want to follow the rule of law. And it's very contradicting because they actually have to take an oath to the Constitution. So in a way, he's saying that he's one of the bad guys, you know. So there you go, people. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So there you go.